Here's a question most K-truck importers never think to ask. Does Japan already have an electric key truck? Take a second. What's your guess? Here's the answer, yes. Japan has had two, an electric van and an electric truck. Only one of them survived, and that surviving van eventually led to what we now know as the Mitsubishi Minicab EV. Let's start with the truck. It launched in January 2013, nicknamed Dentora Electric Truck in Japanese. Real spec 2 battery sizes, a smaller 10.5 kilowatt-hour pack, good for about 100 kilometers of range, and a bigger 16 kilowatt-hour pack, good for about 150. Compare that to a typical new American EV today most land. Somewhere between 240 and 320 miles, roughly 385 to 515 kilometers. This truck was never trying to compete with that. It was built for short hops deliveries, farm work, moving things around a job site, not road trips. It didn't last. Year by year, sales tell the whole story. 602 units in 2013, its first year. 177 the next year. 161, then 65, then just 13 in 2017. By 2018, 0. Not a single one sold. Mitsubishi quietly stopped making it, and it's never come back. The van tells a different story, but it almost didn't. Mitsubishi's own sales figures show the van went through nearly the exact same collapse as the truck at nearly the exact same time. Strong out of the gate, over 2,000 units a year in its first 2 years. Then a steep decline, bottoming out at under 300 units a year from 2016 through 2018. Practically the same low point that killed the truck completely. But the van didn't die. In 2019, sales started climbing again, 796 units that year, 456 the year after. Mitsubishi actually paused general sales in March 2021, still uncertain about the van's future, and kept selling it only to select business customers in the meantime. Then in November 2022, they brought it back to everyone. Why? Two things converging at once: a serious statewide push toward decarbonization, and a genuine explosion in home delivery volume during the pandemic, which meant delivery companies suddenly needed a lot more vehicles, and fast. By September 2022, Mitsubishi had sold over 10,000 of these vans total. Since the very beginning, in December 2023, Mitsubishi gave the surviving van a major refresh, and a new name, Minicab EV, bigger battery, more range, same basic idea. Here's the piece that explains everything. And it's the same lesson whether you're looking at Japan or anywhere else. This van never depended on individual buyers walking into a dealership. It depended on fleets. Japan Post alone has bought more than 5,000 of these vans since 2013, and in 2024 ordered 3,000 more of the new Minicab EV specifically. Mitsubishi didn't stop there. They partnered with over 40 other companies to test and adopt the van for their own delivery fleets. That's the customer base that kept this vehicle alive through its worst years, and the truck simply never had an equivalent. The reason this format works so well for fleets is simple. These vehicles aren't trying to do everything. They're small enough for narrow city streets, easy to maneuver in crowded neighborhoods, and their daily routes are usually predictable. A delivery fleet doesn't need a vehicle that can drive 300 miles on a charge. If each van returns to the same depot every evening, it needs something that can make the same short runs, reliably, charge overnight, and go back to work the next morning. That's exactly the environment the Minicab EV was designed for. I can back this up from my own shop, honestly. Individual customers almost never ask me about a cargo EV. The demand just isn't there on the personal buyer side. But Japan Post's Minicab EV vans come through my shop regularly for maintenance, because they're actually on the road working every day. And here's a small bonus for anyone in this business. EVs are genuinely quick to service. Fewer moving parts means less to inspect, less to replace. A routine visit takes noticeably less time than the same job on a gas truck. One honest caution, though, if you're thinking about buying one used even years from now. Resale value on these has been weak. It's not complicated. Demand for a used cargo EV is simply low, and buyers worry about battery degradation on a vehicle they can't easily verify the condition of. I wouldn't recommend one as a personal purchase, even setting the import question aside entirely. Spec-wise, this van drives well enough for the job it's asked to do. The motor makes about 41 horsepower, similar to a gas K van. But here's the real difference. Electric motors deliver their full power. The instant you press the pedal, A gas engine needs to rev up first. This one doesn't. So even with a full load in the back, it pulls away smoothly and immediately without that slight lag. You'd feel in a gas truck. Charging is straightforward, too. A standard home charger takes about 7 hours for a full charge overnight. A fast charger, the kind installed at dealerships and highway rest stops across Japan, gets you to 80% in roughly 35 minutes. And here's a number worth remembering Mitsubishi's own. Data shows about 77% of Japanese commercial vehicles only travel around 65 kilometers a day. For a fleet running fixed local routes, that's well within range, charger or no charger emergency. There's one more feature worth knowing that has nothing to do with driving at all. V2H and V2L support vehicle-to-home and vehicle-to-load. In plain terms, the battery under this van can power things other than the van itself. Plug in the right equipment and it becomes a mobile power source running tools. Where there's no outlet nearby, or backing up an entire house during a blackout, for a country that deals with regular earthquakes and typhoons. That's not a gimmick. It's a genuine reason fleets and even some households have taken a second look at these vans, independent of anything to do with fuel savings. Real owner records back this up in a very human way. One early Minicab EV owner kept a simple log for a week about 160 kilometers. Driven 3 fast charging stops plus overnight. Charging at home, and a total electricity bill for the week of roughly 120 yen. That same owner had previously driven a small gas key car for short errands, and only managed 14 to 15 kilometers per liter, worn down by constant stop-and-start driving around town. Exactly the kind of driving an EV shrugs off, since there's no engine idling and burning fuel at every red light. Range anxiety was real too and worth being honest about. That same owner drove to a nearby city, with 90 kilometers of range showing on the dash, air conditioning, switched off to save power and arrived, with only 74 kilometers left after a 20-kilometer trip. A bigger drop than the actual distance driven, which was typical of these early generation range estimates. If you're ever evaluating one of these second-hand, don't take the dashboard number at face value. Budget a real safety margin underneath it. So why can't you import either one yet? The bigger problem is simply age. Even the newest Minicab EV won't clear the 25-year rule until the 2040s. And the last surviving My EV truck from 2017 isn't eligible until 2042. And even once a vehicle clears that 25-year line, getting it titled isn't automatic everywhere. Rules vary state by state, and some states have gone as far as revoking registrations on key trucks already on the road. If you're planning that far ahead, check your state's current stance before assuming the federal age requirement is the whole story. If you're tracking this because you're planning far ahead, thinking about what becomes importable a decade or two from now, not what's available today, this is worth bookmarking. The 25-year rule is a moving window, and Japan's electric K vehicles are already inside it, just further down the timeline than anything else we've covered on this channel. I cover the real practical side of Japanese K trucks, not just what's available today, but what's coming down the pipeline for importers in the years ahead. If that's useful to you, subscribing means you won't miss where this story goes next. 2 vehicles, nearly identical early struggles, completely different endings. One had a fleet of buyers who needed it to work every single day. The other didn't. That's the whole difference between a K EV that survived and one that quietly disappeared.